Kyle McCord made his debut for Syracuse, and he was spectacular.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And Syracuse football is off to a fast start. They beat Ohio 38-22 this afternoon, led by the offense and Kyle McCord, who made his debut, and he was nearly perfect. Aside from one little arm punt, there was barely any blemishes on his afternoon. We're also going to talk about Fran Brown's coaching and why I was pleased with it in the first game. And we're also going to talk about a little bit of a sour note with the Marlowe Wax injury, plus the defense, which, well, it needs to be better, especially for next week. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. So Syracuse beats Ohio 38-22. I think just on face value, from the fact that Syracuse won the game after especially the start, we're all going to be pretty happy that the Orange found a way to win by 16 points over Ohio. And it was really led by this offense and Kyle McCord, who, in my opinion, is the second best quarterback in the ACC right now. I said before the season, I think he's going to finish second team all conference. And after week one, nothing has changed because he looked like the second best quarterback in the conference. The only one who's better, well, he plays for Miami, Cam Ward, who just went into the swamp and annihilated them at the same time that Syracuse was playing. Aside from him, Kyle McCord looks really freaking good. And I want to start off with talking about the beginning of it, okay? Because the first drive, well, did he look a little nervous? Was he nervous? I don't know. But that first drive, he has one completion to, I believe, Zeed Haynes. But other than that, his other two throws were nearly intercepted by the Ohio defense. So it was not a fast start for Kyle McCord in this offense. But on the second drive, he really was able to keep it up, or to pick it up, rather. His final stat line was over 350 yards. He had 4 touchdowns, completed nearly 70% of his passes, and had just the one interception in the fourth quarter, which was essentially an arm punt. That was it for Kyle McCord. The way he was able to flip the script after a really bad first series was simply taking what the defense was giving him. It seems so simple, but for a lot of quarterbacks who have a lot of arm talent like Kyle McCord, they really just either don't understand that concept or don't do a very good job of executing that concept of taking what the defense gives you. On that first touchdown drive of the game, he hit Trebor Pena a couple of times. It was quick little dink and dunk passes, letting Trebor Pena run after the catch. And then, of course, he hits Oronde Gadsden for the 30-yard touchdown along the sideline. But it's all set up with the fact that he is taking what the defense is giving him. Now, all of a sudden, the defense starts to play a little bit up, and McCord is able to air it out a little bit. So that was a nice touchdown drive and got Syracuse going. On the field goal drive, it was the same thing. Syracuse, I believe, was up 7-6 at this point. They're driving down. They were going to kick a field goal to make it 10-6. He started the drive just picking apart the defense as usual, right? Just finding the open receiver, taking what the defense was giving him. I think Trebor Pena a couple of times. I believe he hit LaQuint Allen on a nice check down play as well. And then, of course, on that drive, he hit Zeed Haynes over the middle, and Zeed Haynes got popped. But that was the one standout throw of the drive. And for a quarterback, like I said, it's not always about making those standout throws. And he had some standout throws in this one, but it was all started on the fact that he was simply taking what the defense was giving him. Then he finds Zeed Haynes for that throw where not many quarterbacks can make. Tight window. The receiver's going to get drilled. You have to put it in an area where only the receiver can catch it because it's over the middle of the field. It can get picked off. And he does just that. Haynes did get hurt on the play, but I believe he did come back late. Yeah, he did come back later in the game. We're also going to talk about later, or the drive at the end of the first half in the next segment with Fran Brown's coaching, because that was a combination of brilliant coaching and brilliant quarterback play. So we're going to get to that later. But on the third quarter touchdown drive, a special throw to Jackson Meeks on the right sideline that was 35 yards. And then he delivers a perfect back shoulder throw to Trebor Pena for a touchdown. It started by taking what the defense was giving him. And then once he was in the groove, once he was feeling it, that's when you really saw those special throws, particularly at the end of the first half and into the second half. In the fourth quarter on that touchdown drive, Kyle McCord hit Zeed Haynes for a 42-yard bomb. It was a little bit underthrown, but at the same time, Zeed Haynes was interfered with. And also, he did put it in an area where only Zeed Haynes can get it, which, listen, if you're not going to make the perfect throw, and you're not always going to make a perfect throw, at least put it in an area where only your player can get it and not the defense. So on that 42-yard play to Zeed Haynes in the fourth quarter, that's exactly what Kyle McCord did. It was a little bit underthrown, but only Zeed Haynes can get it. Then, again, taking what the defense is giving him, Kyle McCord finds Oronde Gadsden for a few simple passes on an in route and an out route, I believe, if I remember correctly. And then I believe then Trebor Pena punches it in on that 4th and goal. That essentially iced the game for Syracuse. Trebor Pena had himself a day with 3 touchdowns. Oronde Gadsden over 100 yards. LaQuinn Allen had, I believe, 98 rushing yards. But it was all set up by the excellent quarterback play of Kyle McCord, who had that shaky start, nearly 2 interceptions on the opening drive of the game, 3 and out. What is going on? I know, listen, if you weren't nervous in that moment, I don't know what to tell you. I wasn't thinking like, oh my goodness, the season's over or anything like that. But of course, I'm going to be a little bit, not skeptical. I'm going to be a little nervous. Like, is Kyle McCord really not the guy? Was he just really overblown by Ohio State? Well, he answered that question for me today. I think this guy is truly the real deal. Like I said from the jump, Kyle McCord is the second best quarterback in the ACC, only behind Cam Ward. Now, I know some of you guys might argue with me that Cam Ward is not better than Kyle McCord. I know they actually rhyme there. But still, he looked fantastic this afternoon. And Syracuse fans, I think we should be pretty pleased that Kyle McCord is our quarterback for 2024. So, excellent day from the new signal caller from Ohio State, the 4-star transfer. He was hyped up. And he certainly delivered. Once again, Syracuse beats Ohio 38-22 this afternoon. Now coming up, we're going to talk about Fran Brown making his head coaching debut and why I was really pleased, particularly in one area, which is so important in coaching. Fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you will always have new flavors to explore. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. So we talked about Kyle McCord's excellent day as the new signal caller for Syracuse football. And now it's time to get to the man of the hour, making his head coaching debut in college football in general, not just for Syracuse in general, Fran Brown, who in my opinion showed me a lot of good this afternoon. Of course, it's not perfect, and I wasn't necessarily expecting him to be perfect, but Fran Brown, with his clock management at the end of the first half, showed me a lot. Clock management is something that, let's be honest, so many coaches struggle with it. It doesn't seem like something that should be hard, but yet a lot of coaches struggle. One of the main ones that has struggled with clock management is actually Andy Reid, who might be the best coach in the NFL. But, he gets Patrick Mahomes, and all of a sudden, his issues of clock management kind of go away. We don't really remember the fact that Andy Reid used to really struggle with the clock. And he's one of the best coaches in the world. You can make an argument that he is the best coach in the NFL. He's better than any of the college football head coaches. And that's Andy Reid. He struggles with the clock. Fran Brown, at the end of the first half, showed excellent clock management skills. And let's get right to it. Because it wasn't just the offense. It starts with the fact when Syracuse was on defense. The Orange had, first of all 3 timeouts at the end of the half, which is important. The fact that Syracuse didn't have to waste any timeouts for really any reason, right? Was there ever an instance during the game where the play clock is winding down, especially in that first half, where play clock's winding down and Syracuse all of a sudden has to use a timeout? I don't remember. I don't. So you have all 3 of your timeouts. And on defense, as Ohio is driving in the red zone, which obviously isn't good, we don't want Ohio driving in the red zone, Fran Brown did a nice job of using his timeouts to preserve the clock, which again, it sounds super easy, like any coach can do it, but yet we remember Dino Babers, the last head coach for Syracuse, who wasn't so great with the clock. And it ensures that Syracuse still has a chance to score at the end of the first half. They have about, after Ohio kicks a field goal to make it 10-9, Syracuse has about 40 seconds and 1 timeout to go down the field, which is plenty of time to get a field goal, especially in college football where the clock will stop after a first down. So the drive starts off with Kyle McCord finding Oronde Gadsden along the sideline for 18 yards. The perfect chunk play. Don't have to use a timeout. Didn't take off too much time off the clock. And it gets nearly 20 yards. Now, all of a sudden, you're in business. You only need about 30 yards to get into field goal range. Already off the bat, a good start to the drive. And then over the course, there were some plays and over the middle, along the sideline. But it ends up working out to where Syracuse has about 10 seconds and no timeouts at the Ohio 20-yard line. And the clock is stopped at this point. I think Fran Brown did a nice job at that point calling timeout to preserve 10 seconds. And there are 2 schools of thought. You can kick the field goal right there, which I would not have been opposed to doing. I would have said, okay, you don't want to risk it. That's fine. Kick the field goal, try to go up 13-9. I get that. Instead, Fran Brown takes a calculated risk. He gets a little aggressive, but it's not overwhelming. It's not to the point where I'm seriously questioning what he is doing. He's got 10 seconds. Syracuse is at the 20-yard line at the end of the first half. If you're going to run a play and you have no timeouts, you got to take a shot to the end zone. It's got to be a low-risk play to the end zone because you want to ensure that you're going to have a chance to get points That is exactly what the Orange dial up, and also credit to Jeff Nixon, the offensive coordinator, for the play. And Kyle McCord finds Trebor Pena for a 20-yard touchdown along the left sideline. It was a perfect throw, and Syracuse goes up 17-9 at the end of the first half. Not only was that that was an important drive, but I honestly felt in that moment, even though Ohio cut it to a 1-point game in the second half, I really felt after that drive that Syracuse didn't have much of a chance of losing. I really did. After that one, I pretty much thought the game was over. And that was all because of Fran Brown's excellent time management skills and Kyle McCord's ability to command an offense with everyone having the situational awareness. It's about situational football, and I think Syracuse did a really good job at the end of the first half, knowing how much time was on the clock, knowing that they had one timeout, knowing exactly what to do, just where to throw the ball, Kyle. Take a low-risk shot to Trebor Pena. That's it. And if it's incomplete, it's incomplete. It's not going to be intercepted. You kick the field goal. So overall, A+ to Fran Brown in that regard with the clock management. We'll see if he can continue that going forward, but positive sign in that regard. Now, let's go over a little bit of the negative, because we're not going to be all positive Polly on here. And let's talk about the penalties. And Syracuse committed 6 penalties in this game for 47 yards, which isn't awful. It's not awful. But at the same time, you are going against inferior competition. You do want to limit your mistakes as much as possible because, well, when you're playing a team like Georgia Tech in week 2, they are going to be much tougher. You're probably going to commit more mistakes, which means more penalties. So 6 penalties for 47 yards, though, isn't too bad. However, it was some of the types of penalties that were committed for Syracuse. We talk about detail, right? DART for Fran Brown. The D stands for detail. Well, running into the kicker in the second quarter, that's not good. That's not good enough, right? There was a running into the kicker on a 3-and-out in the second quarter. And, well, Ohio gets the ball back. Now, fortunately, Ohio again goes 3-and-out, but you don't want to run into the kicker. However, I will give the proverbial pass because the replay, which was really fast, I couldn't exactly tell. It looked as though it might have been Ohio's lineman or whoever that ran into the kicker or ran into the punter. But still, leave no doubt, right? Let's not touch the punter when he is punting the ball, please. All right? So you never want to commit a running into the punter. That's a bad penalty. Then at the end of the first half on Anthony Tyus' 44-yard run. Now, Anthony Tyus is basically Ohio's version of Jim Brown. He had a 44-yard run at the end of the first half. Now, it's bad enough that Syracuse missed a couple of tackles. Deuce Chestnut had a missed tackle on that run. Marcellus Barnes had a missed tackle on that run. But it then is compounded by the fact that Justin Barron commits a 15-yard late hit out of bounds. That's a penalty that can't happen. Obviously, it's on the player first and foremost, right? Justin Barron cannot be committing 15-yard out-of-bound penalties. However, it also comes back to coaching and ensuring that your players are going to limit that mistake as much as possible. And I really feel like I'm nitpicking. I really feel like I am, because aside from that, I thought that Fran Brown did a really, really nice job in this game. He wasn't perfect. Some of the penalties I didn't love, but it was the clock management at the end of the first half, which had me really, really impressed. Once again, Syracuse knocks off Ohio to start off 1-0. They won 38-22. We talked about how the offense shined and Kyle McCord had an excellent game. We just went over the fact that Fran Brown had an impressive coaching debut. But coming up, we're going to talk about the Marlowe Wax injury and the defense as a whole, which wasn't great. Tired after lunch? You're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5-hour energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape berry, and more. There is a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it is delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. So we've gone over the Syracuse football offense having an exceptional game led by Kyle McCord in his debut. We just went over Fran Brown's coaching and the fact that he did an excellent job managing the clock at the end of the first half, which led to a Syracuse touchdown. It was the Trebor Pena one at the 20-yarder at the end of the first half once again. Now it's time to talk about the Marlowe Wax injury and the defense as a whole. So Marlowe Wax left this game in the second half. I forgot if it was the third or the fourth quarter. It appeared to be a lower body injury, obviously, on his right side. I don't know if it was an ankle. I don't know if it was his foot. I don't know if it was his knee or his leg. Whatever it is, I am not sure. I am recording this podcast before Fran Brown has spoken at the press conference, which is a tease for the next podcast coming up on Sunday, rather, which is, well, not only just reacting to the press conference, but also more takeaways from the game. So Marlowe Wax left the game. Now, Fran Brown was asked about it by the broadcast, and he said that Marlowe Wax was going to be fine, but he said it in a way where I didn't know if he was going to be fine, like as in like he's going to be able to play next week or in a couple of weeks, like he's going to be fine on the injury front, or the fact that he's going to be fine like as a human, like Marlowe Wax will live. It's just an injury. He'll be okay as a human being. I couldn't tell. So hopefully Marlowe Wax is okay. He is the heart and soul of this defense. He was preseason all ACC. And quite frankly, aside from Fidel Diggs, he was the best player on the field for Syracuse on the defensive end of the ball. Fidel Diggs had a nice game. He had some not so great moments, but overall he had a couple sacks. Marlowe Wax was flying all over the field for this team. He was. So an injury to him, if he's knocked out for the foreseeable future, that is really not good for Syracuse. He was wearing a boot and using crutches at the end of the game. Now his replacement, James Hurd, who is a transfer, I believe, from West Virginia, he got a pick off a deflection in the fourth quarter, which was nice. So take that for what it's worth. But an injury to Marlowe Wax is certainly a big deal for this team. Hopefully, we get some good news on the injury front regarding Marlowe Wax. Now, as far as the defense, the run defense, yeah, it was bad. I can't sugarcoat it for you. It was the big blemish of the game. It's why Ohio was able to somewhat keep it close. Ohio really couldn't stop Syracuse's offense. Syracuse's offense was excellent. And they didn't really even have to run the ball. They aired it out. But the run defense for Syracuse kept them in the game. I talked about Anthony Tyus, who had 16 carries for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Essentially, Ohio's version of Jim Brown. All right? We made Anthony Tyus look like Jim Brown. We look whatever you want to use. A Heisman candidate, it doesn't matter. An Ohio State running back, not an Ohio running back. Lots of missed tackles. Okay. He's a big dude, 6'1", 226 pounds. You still got to make tackles. You're playing defense, right? I talked about that 44-yard run. It really should have been about a 10-yard run, which is still not good. That comes down to defensive line penetration and not getting enough, and the linebackers not filling their gaps. But you had Deuce Chestnut miss a tackle, and then when he cut to the outside, when Tyus cut to the outside, Marcellus Barnes, the true freshman, he missed a tackle. That's not good enough. You can't miss tackles because when you miss tackles, a 10-yard gain becomes a 44-yard gain. That's what happens. And there were missed tackles on the first drive. There were missed tackles on the second drive. I can't point them all out to you, but it was really, really bad. Setting the edge was also a problem. In the first quarter, I highlighted an example with Justin Barron, who was screaming off the edge. He misses a tackle, but the most important part of it is that he doesn't set the edge. When you are on the edge, okay, your main job is to make sure that the runner does not get to the outside of you. You're not always going to be able to make the tackle. If you can't make the tackle, then you have to force him to cut back to the inside because that's where all your defenders are. They're on the inside. And Justin Barron in a play in the first quarter didn't do that. It leads to about a 10-yard gain when it really should have been a 2-yard gain. That's the reality of the run defense. Now, the good news is, because I know a lot of people might be panicking about Georgia Tech coming to the Dome, the good news is that, once again, Anthony Tyus is a big dude. 6'1", 225 pounds. Okay, that's NFL size. All right? The runner that Georgia Tech has, aside from their quarterback, Haynes King is a problem in and of itself, okay? Jamal Haynes is their leading rusher, a very, very talented running back for Georgia Tech. I don't want to get too far into the weeds. We'll save that for later in the week. Bottom line with Jamal Haynes, he is 5'9", 175 pounds. So it's a different test. It's going to be more about setting the edge. And, well, you have to obviously make tackles on him, but you're not tackling a big dude. Instead of tackling a big dude, you're tackling someone who is exceptionally fast. So how does Syracuse adapt to a smaller running back? Okay, they go from a bull to a cheetah. That's what essentially is happening for this team right now. They really didn't pass the test. In fact, they failed the test against the bull. How do they do against the cheetah? Cheetah's smaller than a bull, but is certainly a lot faster and quicker. So how do they do against Jamal Haynes? Overall, I know I predicted that Syracuse was going to blow them out. I had 41-10 Syracuse. The offense nearly got to 41 points. The defense was not so great. We got to hope that we get good injury news on Marlowe Wax. But aside from that, I believe the run defense can be corrected. I don't think it's going to be as bad against Georgia Tech. Now, call me foolish or whatever you want. But overall, I'm pleased with the win. We won the game 38-22. So I'm encouraged. And I'm happy about the victory. And leave a comment in the comment section below your thoughts on Syracuse's win over Ohio this afternoon. Now, coming up for the rest of the podcast, we're going to talk about what we need to see more of because there are plenty of storylines for this game, and I'm sure I didn't touch all of them, right? We're going to go over more of the run defense, but also some players on offense who didn't really get the ball a lot. We're going to go over Yassine Willis, who nearly had his first touchdown, but didn't quite get it in. Dan Villari, I don't remember. I think off the top of my head, I don't remember him having a catch. Where's Dan Villari? Someone who's a Swiss Army knife, a different dimension. I know the offense was great, but where is Dan Villari? Plus, maybe some early thoughts on Georgia Tech. So stay tuned. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On College Football Podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron, which has already started. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. And if you really liked it, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast. And folks, Syracuse football is 1-0.